My name is Debora Spar. I'm the president of Barnard College, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you all here this morning. And as we were just noting in the back of the room, it's quite notable that so many people show up on a very cold Friday morning before the holidays, and this may be in part because women show up for things, and some wonderful men as well. So thank you all for showing up. I just want to say a few very words of welcome at the outset here. As some of you may or may not know, before I came to Barnard 2 years ago, I spent the bulk of my career at Harvard Business School. And so it's a great personal pleasure for me to introduce what I believe is the first official collaboration between Barnard College and Columbia Business School. And I hope this is the start of many future collaborations between Barnard College and Columbia Business School, not just because there's great people like Bruce and Sandra over there that we love to work with, but because I think there are so many issues out there, issues of which I'm sure everyone in this room is aware, where it really makes sense to bring together a business school and a women's college. Because we now all know that despite decades now of trying, despite decades of research, despite decades of really talented women being in all the right pipelines, things have still not changed. And we are not seeing women or people of color in the leadership positions, particularly in the business community, that we should have seen by now. And we have to start figuring out not only why things are not changing, but probably more importantly, what the heck we can do to finally start moving this needle along. I keep noticing as I look at research that wonderful Professor Duflo and others have done, that there seems to be sort of a magic point that occurs at somewhere between 16 and 20% of key populations. If you look at women in business schools, in law schools, and graduate schools, they're over 50%. If you look at Fortune 500 CEOs, board directorships, presidencies, women are stuck between 16 and 20% and can't really seem to get above that. People of color are stuck at a point substantially below that. Women of color remain a very tiny minority in any leadership positions. So what can we do about this? And as the conference today is entitled, is it time now for bolder policies around diversity? Has the time come to stop wringing our hands and actually, if we can get Congress to do anything, legislate policies? Are there other organizations that can legislate either laws or just regulations with some bite to it that would actually start to push women and minorities beyond this sort of bottleneck point of 16 to 20% at which we seem to be stuck? So there's great food for discussion today. We have a wonderful list of speakers who also have come out on a cold Friday morning. So thank you so much for being here, and I am delighted to turn the microphone over to my collaborator here.
Maybe brief today because it's a cold day, and we have a wonderful speaker who will have to leave us some point this morning for some meetings at the Sloan Foundation. My name is Bruce Kogut. I'm in charge of what's called the Sanford C. Bernstein Center for Leadership and Ethics. And it is a great pleasure to have this conference being co-hosted by our center and the Athena Center with Catherine Colbert as the director who will close this conference today. Because I won't speak at the very end, I just want to start off by just saying there are a lot of people who bring this conference to life, both the team at the Athena Center, but also my co-director, Sandra Navali, who is standing to my left over here, as well as my team of Carolyn Tharp and Emily Moon. I think you all know how important this is, and you also meet Ann Bartel later on, and Jillian Tett from the Financial Times who run our panels. I want to say a few words about the center. I really don't have much to do here except for two things: to say something about the center and then motivate a little bit why we're doing this conference and why Esther Duflo is here. Without belaboring this, many of you heard this before, it may surprise some of us that ethics is not always well accepted at business schools. We kind of believe that there are right and wrong. There's the law, and there's breaking the law and not breaking the law. But usually it often stops there and doesn't go too much further. We have a little bit of a broader definition of what ethics is about and what leadership is about. And that has to do also with taking some sort of pro-social engagement in the big questions of our time. So if you look at the work we do, we've been working on the financial crisis. We run a series of conferences on this, including with the New York Federal Reserve Board. And we've been running conferences also on diversity, which involved other people from around the country and elsewhere, including colleagues of Esther Duflo's. This includes Claudine Golden and Marianne Bertrand, among other people. Today we chose this topic of looking at diversity. And I ran into a book, which maybe many of you know, I'm sure Catherine knows this already, called Why So Slow? It's by a colleague over at Hunter College. And that's just a great question. It really is slow. I'm not going to show you the data. We'll post this on our site. But Deborah already referred to this. If you look at the data for boards, it goes from a few percentage points of women to around 14% currently. Things which you think we can control more, like the boards of business schools and universities, aren't often that much better. Some places are better than others. The statistic which really amazes me is CEOs. In the US, the top 500 firms, only 2% of CEOs are women. This is 2%, hasn't changed that much over the past 10 years, of very slow progress. When we want to do empirical studies, when research wants to say something about this, you know what misery it is when you only have 2% of CEOs who are women? I mean, you're getting down to, you know, a dozen, 20 women, you know, in your sample. You can't do much. And I've always wondered whether this paucity of women in the top of the corporation has been a major block for doing research in this area, because you just can't run the numbers. You just have to wait until things get better. We looked at things, the differences in pay. It's not much of a pay difference. The only thing we found was a slight indication that when a man moves into when a CEO leaves office, and that's a male, and that office is taken over by a man, you get an increase of about 4 times in pay. If a man CEO is replaced by a woman, you get a modest increase. There's always an increase. But what you really don't see very much is an increase when a woman takes over a man's job. The increase is exceptionally low. And we'll post this data to show this for you. This is the only indication we have of a pay effect. But the primary effect is numbers, just that the numbers are so low, and this is what is so striking. So today we're going to hear many arguments about why this is bad, or why this is not a problem, or what should be done, what bold policies can be used. There'll be some people who say diversity is good, you know, and that's usually true. Sometimes it's not true. If you have, you know, brain surgery, you really don't want to have plumbers and poets as part of the team. It's not always true. There's some people who say women are better than men. This may be true. It may not be true on this issue. Some people in today's panels will make this argument for us. There will be people who say, and I think Esther Duflo will fall in this category, that women bring different preferences. They follow a different agenda, and this actually matters as well in terms of what happens. But I think there's just 2 arguments for me which are the simple arguments. And one is it's a silly economics to avoid half the population in terms of their potential for leading the top corporations, organizations around the world. It's just a waste of brains, if you wish. And the second one, I don't mind saying this, is social justice. It's an argument for justice to give all people an opportunity to lead their societies. And we think that business schools, and certainly our center, should be in the front of doing these, pushing this particular argument. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Esther Duflo, who I think is known to us already. She is French-born, from a graduate from a Grandes Écoles in France with a master's from an economics college in Paris. She went to MIT, graduated in 1999. MIT didn't let her go and kept her. So it's a very rare thing to occur in academics. And she's been the founder and leader of what's called the Poverty Action Lab. This is a major revolution. It's not a minor revolution. She pushed research out into the field, out of the offices, and started getting people to do research on major social questions. And I can say from the people I know who are getting degrees right now in schools, whether it's economics, public policy, SIPO, or the business school, other places, they are deeply inspired by this work and this ability to do scientific research on big social questions which have impact. Professor DeFlo has won prizes. She's won the MacArthur Fellowship. She was the John Bates Award winner. This is a prize for the under 40 economist, a best of class, if you wish, predictor of many great things to happen in the future. She's won the Top Economist, Young Economist Award in France, and she's involved in many activities in policy and elsewhere, and also the founder of a new journal, Applied Journal of Economics, which is making more page space available for research to be published on these important topics. It's a great pleasure, Esther, to have you here, and I'm pleased to turn this over to you. Thanks very much.